This further maths video is on mean and standard deviation. Both of these statistics can be calculated very easily on the CAS calculator, so just make sure you are aware of how to do that and have something in your summary notes on how that's done as well. We'll start with looking at the mean. Mean is also known as the average, so when we calculate the average or the mean of something, all we need to do is add all the values together and then divide by how many values there are. Okay, so here's a little set of data here, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11. If I was going to find the mean of those data points, I would need to add them all together. Okay, when I add them all together, I get 48. And there are 8 numbers, so I divide them by 8. And I get an average of 6. Okay, so the mean is a measure that is often used to find the centre of the data, and you can see here that 6 fits pretty well because 6 would be right in the centre of the data. Now, the mean can only be used as a measure of the centre if the data is symmetrical and there's no outliers. And the reason for that is the mean is influenced heavily by outliers. Really big numbers and really small numbers. So I'll show you an example of this now. If I was to add another number to this set of data here, so we're at 48 at the moment, if I was to add in the number 60, okay, I now have a total of 108, and there are now 9 pieces of data. 108 divided by 9 is 12. Okay, so I would say that the average of this data set now with the new number in there is 12. Now, 12 is here, somewhere in here, and you can clearly see that that's not the centre of the data. The centre of the data is back here somewhere. So what's actually happened is this really large number has influenced the mean, and hence the reason why the mean is not useful when we've got really big or really small numbers, outliers, things like that. Okay. You may also be asked to find the mean of group data. So what I mean by that is, here's a group interval, 0 to 10, there's 2 numbers in there, 10 to 20, there's 4 numbers in there. We don't actually know what the numbers are. This could be 2 1s, or it could be 2 5s, or it could be a 4 and a 6, we don't actually know, but we know that there's 7 numbers, 5 numbers in each of those groups. Now when we do it this way, we actually only get a estimate of what the mean is, okay, because as I said, we don't actually know what the numbers are there. First step is we need a midpoint. Okay, we need a midpoint of each of our groups. So the midpoint of the first one's 5, then 15, then 25, then 35. Next step, we need to multiply our frequency at our midpoint. Okay, and we end up with the given numbers here, 10, 15, 60, 5 25s are 125, and 7 35s are 245. And what we need is the total of the frequency column and the total of the FM column. The total of the FM column is 440. Total of our frequency column is, what do we got, 6, 11, 18. So to work out the mean, we need to go 440 divided by 18. And we get a mean of 24.44 to 2 decimal places. So that is how we would calculate the mean if it was group data. We need a midpoint and multiply our frequency by our midpoint. Again, it's only an estimate. Standard deviation is the last thing I want to talk about. I'm not actually going to talk about how the standard deviation is calculated, because in further maths, all we would do is calculate the standard deviation on our CAS calculator. So really important we know how to do that. But what the standard deviation is it's a measure of the spread of the data from the mean. Okay, so a data set that's really spread out will have a high standard deviation. A data set that's close together will have a really small standard deviation. Here's a quick example of that. This data set here, both of them have a mean of 9. So the mean's the same in both of these data sets. You can see that this one isn't spread over as large a range as this one. So this one here would have a much smaller standard deviation than this one here. This one here, because it's spread over a greater range, would have a higher standard deviation than this one, which is grouped closer together. Okay, but as I said again, standard deviation calculated on the CAS. You don't need to know a formula of how to do it by hand.